Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. This is Trendy John here at Simpler Trading. So I'm going to walk you through on how to set up your chart for 0DTE SPX. But before we get there, I want to make sure that you understand that there is no PMZ on a SPX chart when it comes to Thinkorswim or now what is called Schwab. And a lot of people, when they first get the PMZ, they ask, well, um, I don't see an SPX chart. And the reason why is because Thinkorswim or Schwab has no data as far as pre-market is concerned, right? So typically we'll open up and we'll get a gap up or we'll get a gap down or something like that. But there is no PMZ. And this is why you can trade the ES blueprint that I share every morning. You can just use that PMZ, but some of us like to use what's called a premium chart. Now, the premium chart means that when we are looking at the chart itself, the candles represent the price of the option. Okay. Now, the first thing you want to do is take a chart and I want you to duplicate it. So we're going to come over here and you're going to click this here. Once we click that, we're going to detach. Somewhere, depending on how many screens you have, this is going to pop up. Now, all I want here for these purposes, I'm going to show you, I'm going to head and just make two of these. Okay, so I have two charts here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the option itself. Okay, and I am going to come over to the option chain. And let me bring this over. And we have an option chain. Okay, now what we're going to do, let's pretend that we're opening up on Monday morning. It's a 0 DTE. And let's say that the option opens at 5,300. Okay. What I would do is I would come over here to the 5,300 and I can do this for the call and put. Remember, the PMZ is really a trade that if you're looking at the trend, I don't want you to be overly biased, but if the trend is green, I'm typically looking to go long. And in this case, let's just say the overall trend has been very bullish. And even if the market pulls back, I just don't feel like the risk to reward is there. So in this case, I'm just going to load a call into this chart over here. All right. So we have that chart and we can do this two different ways. Let's say I'm just going to make this green and I'm going to make this one red. And the idea here is that I can load calls into the green and I can load puts into the red. Okay. So we're going to come back over here and we are going to right click on the ask. And you could do this before the market opens. Okay. So you can pick out your option before the market opens. So what I can do here is I can add the SPXW into a certain place, or I can just copy. I don't mind copying, so I'm just going to copy this. And then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to backspace, get all that stuff out of there, Control V, then hit enter. Okay. Now what this has done is it has loaded the call on this side. Okay. So in this case, let's just have one. And this is our call position. Okay. Now on this, I only want to come in here and look at a 1 minute chart. All right. So we're going to change the time frame. We're going to come over here and you'll notice if I put it on a 5 minute, I got some PMZs and stuff in there. I could do it on a 5 minute, but I'm going to come over here and do a 1 minute. All right. And you can mess around with this. And if you prefer to do it on a 5, you could do that. But let's do 1 minute here. All right. And in this case, you're going to see a PMZ as well. And now we have a PMZ. All right. And we can trade off of this PMZ. For example, this was today and this was the 17th. And you could see overall the SPX didn't perform that well, right? If we come over here, we could see that. Now, in this case, in this setup, we are going to use the same idea, right? That if the price moves above the PMZ, I will go long. But I don't want you to get confused here. Again, the candles represent the volume of the option, if you will, or the price of the option. So at some point when it first opened up this morning, if you look to the right, and I'm going to freeze my screen, and we look over here, the option was about $1,550. Okay, that's what the option cost. And you can see the top of the PMZ was 1,611. Okay, so I know like if I want to trade this specific option to the upside, it's going to cost me when I get in about $16.15, $1,600.15. Okay. Now, in this case, this actually would have kept me from going long because it never set up. It never went above the PMZ, so I didn't need to take the position, which is really neat if you think about it. And if some of you have really, really large accounts and you sell naked, then you could also use this as something in your tool belt, if you will, as well. You could say, hey, as long as price doesn't get above here on the SPX, I'm going to go ahead and short that call. And in this case, it loses value. You can cover at a trendy edge. And in this case, you would get about $5 back just from covering from this edge. Okay. Another thing you could do, let's say that you want to sell call credit spreads because you felt like the market was going to go down. You could sell your call credit spreads here and just say, hey, I have a rule. As long as price doesn't close above here, I'm going to hold on to that call credit spread and I'm going to cover that spread as prices drop and collect that premium. Now, here's the cool thing about the premium chart. Just like a regular PMZ trade, we're able to see a PMZ, but the really, really neat thing here, let's come over here and see if we can find some more PMZs. It's going to look a little funky because we're looking at 1 minute charts here. But let's just say in this case, we were bullish on this day and we're getting in at $17. We could be taking the trade to the upside. And what we're looking for on our chart, every day you come in, you'll see like trendy edges on here. And then you can use those as targets. So for example, if I were going long today, and let's say that the market would have actually trended to the upside, then I know what my risk is, which is the difference between the top and the bottom of the zone, and I know what my reward is. So my reward could have been, in this case, $16 is where I get in, and I could see prices rise as high as 24. My risk, once again, is the difference between the top and the bottom of the PMZ. In this case, let's just call it about $100. And a lot of times when you do come in here, your risk on these are only going to be about $100. Okay. So exactly that's what we're looking at. All right. Now, also to the downside, let's say that you had loaded a put. All right. On the put side, if the price breaks down underneath the PMZ, you can enter the puts. Where would you cover? Again, at trendy edges, at levels that you want to use to the downside, which is really, really neat as well. Now, my favorite thing about the premium chart is I already know where my levels are and I understand what I would need in order to get out. So the advantage of this is SPX moves very quickly. And a lot of times, especially new traders, want to get out of a trade and you're trying to fumble around with getting out and it moves so quickly that the bid and ask make it very difficult and a winning trade can go to a losing trade really, really fast. So what we use is this button over here called the active trader. If you notice over here, not only do you have the premium chart, which shows you where you want to get long, where you want to get short and so forth, but you have the price of the option here. These are the buyers and these are the sellers. So if I already know where I want to get in when it comes to this chart, I can be sitting here ready to take my trade. Okay, I can either hover, let's say that we were going to buy the call in this case, I could be hovering on this buy market, and as soon as it closes over this, if I'm taking the conservative route, or maybe you're taking the aggressive route, as soon as it breaks over, I can hit this buy button and boom, I'm in the trade. The next thing I can do is then know, okay, well, I want to get out at 24, so I can scroll up here and I can make sure that I'm trying to sell my option at 24. And what's really neat is that this right here is actually my indicator. If we hover over this, it's going to say the trendy edge. We already understand the methodology. We understand that the trendy edge is finding supply. So therefore, if the option were to go up, we would expect it to go down when it hits here. So this would be a great trim level. So in this case, I could come right before the trendy edge and maybe put my sell in there. Okay. The way that you get these on here is that you come over to this little cog, you click and you say right here it says show studies from chart. And again, you have to have the studies. So if you have the indicators and you have this checked, it's going to show up in here. One other trick, if I'm not looking at the chart, okay, and I were to take the chart off, notice that my indicators are not on here. We get this question a lot. Well, why aren't my indicators showing up? It's because it's reading off the chart. So you need to have the chart open, and then all of a sudden you will see that your indicators are there. Okay. So really at the end of the day, if you're really, really comfortable with trendy edges and the idea of the levels, I don't even really need to look at a chart, but you need to have it open. But if I were to come up here and scan, I would go, okay, well, this is a trendy edge. Down here is a trendy edge. So I could look to be buying if we get above here, and I could be looking to sell right before we get here. And that's just more of an advanced approach. Okay. Now, again, you got to make sure that your studies or your indicators are on this chart. Have the chart open. Make sure you come over here and hit the cog. Make sure you show studies from your chart. One big lesson here as well, make sure this number is where you want it. Don't make the mistake and think it's a 1 and maybe you got a 20 in there and all of a sudden you just bought 20 contracts of the SPX. Very important to always understand this. While we're sitting here, I will show you a quick demonstration of how to set up your template. Templates are great because they allow us to just click one button and have a stop and a target in there. Let me go ahead and show you how to do that. Let's say that most of the time our risk is about 100 to 150 bucks on SPX. And our targets say we want $500 in return. What I want to do is come up here and hit template. I want to go to trigger with bracket. And right here where it says stop, this is going to be how much money you're willing to lose. In this case, I have $100 here. What do I want in return? Let's just say 5. And you can change this to whatever you like, and you can save several different templates. In this case, we could call this template 1 to 5. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to verify. The stop is 1. Yep, 1.00. The limit where I want to get out is 5.00. Do not get these opposite. You don't want a 5 stop and a 1 return. It's just not a great risk to reward, and I have messed up and done something like that before. Now, once you hit enter, what you'll notice is right over here, this little guy shows up. And that's like a little notepad and like a disk, if you will. This is where you save your custom order template. Now you can go ahead and click on this, and now we can call it 1 to 5. However you want to write it. You could say 1, 2, 5. Okay, something like that. Or you could say SPX, and maybe this is a small risk for you. You could name it something like SPX small risk, right? But I think the best way is to know right away what it is. So we'll just do something like this, 1 to 5, just like this, and then we're going to hit save. Okay. Now this is going to save in your templates here. Notice when I freeze my screen, SPX 1 to 5. So if I were to want to come in here and trade this, I just click, and notice when I come over here and I want to buy, say 1. Okay, and it's not going to show up because it's not during normal trading hours. But typically you would have a bracket on here that's going to show 1 to 5. Okay, so when you do this normally, it would show, hey, I'm trying to buy here. It would show your stop down here, and it would show your return or what you want up here. Okay, so that's how we create a template. This is how we create the chart for a premium chart. Again, make sure your indicators are in here. And if you don't have your indicators yet, that's okay too. At least now you know how to open up a premium chart and how to put your option over here. Now, once you get advanced and you're open to trading the call side and or the put side, all you have to do is come over here, click 2, and now you can make this one green like I was showing you before. You can make this red, and this way you remember, hey, what's the call side and what's the put side? And then I'm just watching the PMZ. I'm open-minded. I'm not biased, and I'm going to trade mechanical, and I can get in and out of the position from this chart. If you have any questions after this, please reach out. I really appreciate you, and thank you for being here. Have a nice day.